All right, guys, Working Class on DeerCast, another episode. Thank you for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Myself, I'm Kurt Geyer. We have co-host
Doug Schmidt.
We have special co-host Johnny Utah in the house. And then our guest of the hour, Steve Stauff from Minnesota. What's up, buddy?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Hey, I got to say something quick. We get messages a lot, and they're like, you guys need people on from Minnesota. And I say, hey, we have a friend in Minnesota. Here he is.
Here we are. I'd still like to see a Working Class Minnesota hat personally, but
we can, I'll talk to our merch team and see if they can't figure out how to get the shape of Minnesota on a hat behind our logo. So we'll put in a good word for you, and I'll get back to you. I'll have one of my representatives reach out and see if we can.
Our merch team, that's huge.
Yeah, Eric.
That's good. I mean, have your people talk to my people. I'm sure we can get something figured out.
Because you are kind of the representative of Minnesota hunting. We all know that, right?
Yeah, 100%. Screw Tony Peterson, screw some of those other guys.
I think Melissa Bachman's from Minnesota.
Yeah,
right?
Yep.
Yeah. No, you're the guy.
I mean, the Lakoskis are technically from Minnesota too. It's
right. But they voted you in. Not a lot of people know that.
That's true. That's true. And
So
now the secret's out.
The secret's out. I'm sorry. We did it here on DeerCast. Hey, so what's going on, man? You had a good season. A lot's been kind of going on with you, as a lot's been going on with us over here. And man, we podcast every now and again with you, but we don't do it like this focused.
Mm-hmm.
So we figured out a time, and here we are, man. So you killed a good buck this year, and I mean, really, I just want you to tell that story, and then whatever else you want to throw in with it. Don't worry about that.
So I'm fairly new to bow hunting.
Yeah.
This is only my 5th season bow hunting. I grew up, I gun hunted since I was 12 years old, traditional deer camp. We never shot a lot of big deer. It was kind of brown it's down, play cards, have a lot of fun, drink a lot. Mm-hmm. And I miss that a lot.
It's like a tradition.
And we lost that property. It was 240 acres. We had a cabin up there. It was awesome. It was, like when I got married, it was like, these 2 weeks, honey, I'm gone. I don't even bring my cell phone. I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
And we lost that property, and we tried to shift the deer camp to southern Minnesota, where I'm from. And I was blown away with the size of deer we had on our home farm that no one had hunted for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
We've got 170 acres along a river, woods, CRP, ag. I mean, it's a whitetail mecca.
Mm-hmm.
So the 3rd year that we did our family deer camp down there, I was seeing like really big deer, like that one. And like, I got to figure out how to extend my season. How do I do that?
Mm-hmm.
And like, well, I can bow hunt from September to December here. So I picked up a bow and wanted to get after it. And it turns out that I sucked at bow hunting the first few years, because I hunted like a gun hunter, right? I'm hunting in a bow out of, stands that we built by hand, ladder stands, not understanding, the cover behind me, scent control, all these things. And I'm still learning.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'm finally learning what even thermals in southern Minnesota, what they do when the sun's below, when the sun's high. And that's actually part of the story of this deer that I shot this year. But so this was the first buck I've shot with my bow, and I had real high standards up until this year,
which is not a bad thing.
It's not, but you also need to learn how to kill deer with your bow too.
Right. Yeah. There's a curve there. You have to climb the ladder.
So, I've shot a couple of does. I passed on, 20 yearlings, 2-year-olds. I've missed some opportunities on 3.5 and 4-year-old deer in the last couple of years. And again, it's just from being a poor bow hunter.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say that, man. It's just you're green, so it's just that's part of it,
just learning. And a lot of the stuff I picked up, from listening to you guys. When I got into this, my dad had bow hunted a lot when I was a kid, and I never really got into it with him. And so I learned a lot from him doing this, but I'm like, I got to learn more about this. So I just Googled bow hunting podcasts. So I drive pre-pandemic 2,000 miles a month for work. So I listened to a ton of podcasts.
Yeah. Yeah.
And found your podcast, found a couple others, and, you know, Southern Minnesota's bush light country. So I immediately had a connection to you guys. Like if these guys are my neighbors, we'd hang out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just from the myriad of guests you guys have had on, you know, and there's 3 or 4 things from past podcasts that I always keep in the back of my head when I'm scouting, when I'm hunting. And this year I finally felt more confident in what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even started doing mobile hunting on our own property based on what I was seeing, you know, instead of your traditional, we've been here 15 years, we hunt this pinch point, we hunt this stand.
Yeah.
And that's it, you know, and, you know, over the course of 15 years, deer kind of figure that out too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And there's stands that I grew up hunting that deer would like check the stand to see if you're in it and then move along. Like, hey, we gotta move around. Yeah. Even if it's across the trail, you know, catch them while they're looking to see if you're in that stand and get them from the other side. I know what you're saying. I think that's a very common thing in the whitetail woods is it's almost so traditional in certain parts of the country and on certain families on certain farms that it's almost kind of hinders the potential of what it could be, just because a lot of guys get stuck in and it's not a bad thing. Tradition's not bad, but stuck in the ways of the tradition where they don't ever get outside the box. And I think it limits a lot of hunters from being successful.
For sure. And you know, the majority of our access to our home property is all from the south. So if I've got a south or a southeast wind previously, well, I can't hunt. I can't hunt this property today, and that stinks, and I got to do something else. Mm-hmm. You know, so I just took different steps in the last 2 years where I bought a little boat. We've got a section of timber on the other side of the river. I stashed the boat there. I got permission to walk in the half mile so I can cross. I can hunt on a south wind now. Put the time in this year and put in a couple of food plots. And I feel like those efforts, you know, kind of paid off.
Yeah, definitely.
This past year. So just
shout out to you though for thinking
doing things differently.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to you for being, you know, a newer bow hunter and thinking so heavily on entry and exit strategies, because that's probably the most important thing that you have on a spot. You know, if a deer's there and you bump on the way in or way out, then, I mean, we've been talking about that a lot lately on these podcasts, but that's probably the most important thing. So, I mean, shout out to you for thinking about that, you know, only having, you know, 5 years in or whatever. It's that gets to be more of an advanced, it shouldn't be, you know, but it's I think something clicks with the guys that start killing good deer. They're like, like that's one of those things I have to pay more attention to. Yeah. But because I feel like when you're early in hunting, you're like, I just need to be hunting.
Yeah. I just need to be
regardless of the wind or whatever. And I feel that just causes more damage and kind of burns your season out before it gets good.
Yeah, you can take yourself out of the game before it even starts
fast.
You know, and even up until last year, you know, for some of my stands where it was a longer walk, I'd take an ATV halfway. You know, I don't do that anymore. I just get off my rear end and walk.
Yeah.
The extra mile or half mile or whatever it is. You know, just taking it, I don't want to say taking it more seriously, but willing to put in a little extra work to make sure that I'm kind of eliminating all the potential things to go wrong for myself.
Definitely.
You know, and this year, actually last year, really paying attention to what the wind was doing by me, you know, instead of just looking at the weather app saying, oh, it's a northwest wind, I'm going to go sit in this stand, but getting out there and realizing, oh crap, I'm on this little ridge, and even with the northwest wind, it's circling and funneling back to the north. I can't sit here, you know, and being flexible enough to get out of that stand and move.
Yeah.
You know, and that ties into the deer I shot this year. The wind was doing some weird things, and I couldn't figure it out. It was a light breeze, but it was cold enough where I could see my breath go to the east. And I even had my wind puffer and it's all going to the east, but I think so it was cold. I think it was dropping to the bottom of the tree and kind of mushrooming out.
Mm-hmm.
So I got into the stand about 45 minutes before shooting light. And I guess I can back up if you want to talk about leveraging DeerCast.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was set to go to North Dakota to learn how to be a duck guide that Sunday. I've got an annual 5-6 day trip I take with a couple of buddies to North Dakota. We go duck hunting every year.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to be out of town. I've got 3 young kids and putting a little pressure on the family just to be gone that long.
Oh, of course.
And I was looking at DeerCast. I had good trail camera action the last 2 days, seeing 3 actually nice bucks during daylight. And it was one of those things honey, I don't know if I'm gonna say I'm gonna beg, but I'd really, really like to go hunting in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
Saturday. And of course, well, aren't you going hunting for 5 days starting Sunday? I am, but I got to be in the stand. I got to be in the stand on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, as long as you're home by 1 o'clock to take the kids to the amusement park here before you go.
Very fair. Very fair.
Yeah,
Shout out to your wife.
And I'm like, I'll be home by 1. That's not a problem at all. Right. I'm just going to sit for a few hours anyway. And even if I get lucky, I'll have plenty of time.
Mm-hmm.
Or so we thought. So
what I told her.
So I'm in the stand 45 minutes early. This is a pre-hung stand that I've got set up. It's in a narrow stretch of timber. It's really a transition spot between bedding and feed.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to catch them coming back from the ag fields, going back to bed. And I've got a pretty good idea where 2 different bucks had been bedding, and this is like halfway between, which is why I wanted to get in there early.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably 15 minutes before shooting light, and like I said, light northwest breeze, and a deer blows like 6 times. Like, well, they can't possibly be blowing at me
Mm-hmm.
because I'm downwind. I can't see it. It's through thick stuff and it's dark, but I just kind of chalk it up to, well, I don't know, maybe there's a buck chasing, maybe there's something else going on.
Yeah, a coyote or whatever.
Whatever. And
that's what I always tell myself too, to make myself feel better.
Yeah, wasn't me.
Yeah,
there's a coyote over there.
It can't possibly be anything I'm doing wrong. Right?
Yeah, it's a coyote.
So it's now I can see, and another doe comes walking down the trail, and it's a nice doe. I've got 2 doe tags. I'm gonna let one fly.
Mm-hmm.
She gets into my shooting lane. I've got two nice shooting lanes. So she gets into the first one and she looks up, and in my head, I'm going, okay, she's going to just keep going on the trail. I'm going to draw here. I'm going to smoke her at 20 yards in this shooting lane, and we'll be off to a good start.
Mm-hmm.
She stops in the first shooting lane, lifts her nose, looks in my direction, and she doesn't completely bail, but she puts her tail up, turns around, and then loops me about 60 yards.
Mm.
Like, what is going on? Like, I cannot figure this out.
Uh-huh.
So I'm borderline going to get out of the stand. Like, well, if I'm blowing deer out from the direction that they think they're coming, I can't sit here.
Mm-hmm.
So like, well, I'm going to let the sun get up and see if the thermals change when the sun hits me. And when the sun came up over the ridge, all of a sudden I could see my breath and the air going up. Like, okay, we're going to sit this out a little bit longer.
It's a good feeling when you hit the wind puffer or whatever it is and you see everything just go straight up and you're like, I'm invincible.
Yeah. I see that.
I'm now a tree ninja.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, now we're going to sit here a little bit longer.
For the record, don't think that you're invincible because thermals change real fast.
No. And don't think you're invincible either way.
Yeah, in general, Doug.
In general is a good. So it's probably a half an hour later, and I'm not big on calling But it's that time of year. And so I turned towards the bedding area and I let out a pretty solid buck growl right towards the bedding area.
What was the date? I didn't catch the.
Yeah, I didn't catch the date
It was
either.
October 23rd.
Okay.
So
Yep.
get in the wheelhouse there.
Yeah, you're in the window.
Yep. So I just turned towards the bedding area, let out a buck growl just to see what happens. And it's not 3 minutes later, and I hear crunching behind me. So I'm sitting against a big elm tree that's broader than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And this deer's behind me. And I turn to look and I can see antlers. And I've got a pretty good idea which deer it is. I can from trail camera. And he's peeping my direction pretty hard. And I give him a few minutes and he just doesn't want to commit to coming. But I've got the trees big enough. So I stand up in my stand and I turn. And I've got a couple of shooting windows behind me. So when he puts his head down, I'm able to grab my bow off the hanger. And I'm going to get drawn. Well, as I'm getting drawn, I'm not used to shooting behind me, right? So my feet are at the front of the stand and I'm facing the tree back behind me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as I'm drawing, I hit the top limb of my bow on my bow hanger and make a solid thud.
Yeah.
He doesn't bail right away, but he turns around and starts to head back the way he came. So, but I'm able to get drawn and I find about a basketball sized window that I can squeeze a shot through.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. I let it go. And instantly I knew it was back. I could see the luminoc go back behind the last rib. And so I'm obviously like immediately concerned.
Yeah.
After the shot, but I give it a solid half an hour. I'm sitting there, text my uncle, text my mom, text my wife. And I just said, hey, I got an arrow in a deer, stay tuned. I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I know the direction he went. I'm just going to get down and look for the arrow, look for the scene and see what I can find.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I picked up from you guys in the last 2 years too is I never wore binos in the whitetail woods.
Yeah.
And I went and picked up a pair of 12 by 50s and started using those. And this is like the third time I think I've ever even had them with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I get down, I can't find my arrow, but I start finding blood and it's red.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, well, maybe this isn't as bad as I thought. Maybe it was quartering away better than I thought.
Yeah. Because I was going to say, if he was going away from you, and I don't know if things changed between that and like the shot, when you said you had that window, I'm like last rib, quartering away, depends how hard it was. Like, man, you might be money, but sometimes it's hard to tell. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've still got a little PTSD from the doe I shot last year. I shot her a little back and my broadhead didn't expand.
Mm-hmm.
And, she ended up only going about 80 yards. But I've just really worried about that and like having a long track job, right? All the emotions going through.
Mm-hmm. Especially on a good
So I get down and I start, I'm like, I'm just going to track slow, right? I'm going to find blood, move 5 yards, glass.
Mm-hmm.
Find blood, move 5 yards, glass. And I was about 50, 60 yards into the track job and I saw the white belly another 50 yards ahead.
Yeah.
And I lost my dad on deer opener last year of the gun season.
Mm-hmm.
And he was my main hunting buddy, just like a lot of people have with their old man.
Yeah, definitely.
And I put, last year I was like, I'm going to shoot a deer for my dad. I'm going to shoot a deer for my dad. And I put way too much pressure on myself.
That's a lot of pressure, man.
Every sit was, I got to do it today. I got to do it today. I did that. I wrote his name, his date of birth, date of death on my fletchings, on my arrows. Right?
Yeah.
The next deer I shoot's going to be with this arrow. And I know that it messed me up last season. I actually just wrote last season off. Like I got to start fresh.
Yeah.
give it some time and just
regroup and come back to it.
Yeah, exactly.
That that happens to everybody in their bow hunting journey at 1 year or one point or whatever and another. I mean, I've been through the same thing, man. Sometimes no matter what you do, it just doesn't go your way, and that's what makes it hard. That's what makes when it happens so sweet, you know.
Yeah, and I'm not like a hyper emotional guy, but when I saw the white belly, and it sounds cliche, it sounds cheesy, I dropped to my knees and I started crying like a little kid.
I get it, dude. I think anybody that listens in that circumstance understands that, you know.
I've been there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, on top of, you know, being the arrow with my dad's name on it, on top of it being my first archery buck after 5 years of working at it and trying and time and effort.
Yeah.
It's kind of a culmination of those things all just at one moment.
Hit you all at one time.
Yeah. I was literally overcome.
Yeah.
So I got
that too, man. And then it's also like time away from your family and all that. And like, you know, you're getting ready to leave on the trip. So I imagine that put extra pressure and build up. Yeah. So I can only imagine.
You know, and even in the moment too, knowing the shot was a little back and thinking I'm in for potentially a long day and hard work. And then all of a sudden that's over, right? That's off my chest, weight off the shoulders, monkey off my back with getting a buck with my bow and then kind of in memory of my dad, you know, all at the same time.
Yeah, that's a lot to hit you in one moment. And it's almost like when you see the belly, like you're not expecting to see it, like the white belly shining.
It's almost better.
So then it's like, it's subconsciously just like zooms in on you and just like hits you right in all the emotion. So
every bit.
Yeah. It's like a surprise smack in the gut with emotion, you know, because you're just looking up and then it's like, oh, there he is. And then it hits you. So yeah, I get it, man. I think a lot of people, you know, been in emotional situations, put a lot of pressure on themselves, and all of a sudden you realize you're successful. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I gave myself a solid 5 minutes just to myself, like right in that moment before I even got up to the deer. I can kind of an adrenaline rush. I don't know if I went up to the deer first, but I called my mom right away and let her know. And I called my uncle, he and I are very close. I'm the only male nephew on that side. He's never been married. Like I've always helped him out on the farm. He's one that's all about helping me with the food plots. It's his land that we help manage and run. So I called him and had him come down. So we got to share that moment together with the deer. And then he helped me drag it up into actually the photo it's a big time plot in the background. And so everyone's like, oh, just shoot that over the plot. I'm like, actually, no. Yeah. It was colder than hell that morning, and I wanted to get up in the sun. And field dress somewhere it was warm.
You just say the deer probably ate some of it at one point. He was in it at one point.
It's very possible.
Yeah.
And it turned out the shot was money. It came through maybe 4 inches behind the right front shoulder.
Oh, perfect.
And the expandable left, I mean, just a 2.5 inch. Like he was done before he knew it. Type of scenario.
Perfect.
I did not get a full pass through, so the arrow must have been hanging out of him. I only found the fletching half of the arrow. I still haven't found the other half with the broad end in it, but to be able to recover the fletching part was important to me too, with my dad's information on it.
Definitely.
For sure. Yeah.
And we haven't really talked about the deer itself, and quite frankly, that's not as important to me as the rest of the story, but it's just a solid typical 8. I have no idea what it would score, probably a 120 type buck. It's a 3.5-year-old deer. Dude, I do know that it was 74 pounds of meat. So,
well, that's an amazing first archery buck. Like that's what dreams are made of right there for a first archery buck ever. And to add that like weight to the story and the emotion and like how much it means to you besides the antlers, like that's that's what matters, man. That's pretty cool. And that's why I wanted to do this podcast about that deer, because I knew that the story had a little more heavy meaning along with it. But I mean, you got to be so thrilled that it's a good buck, right? You know, everything else is great. The fact that it's a good buck just makes it even cooler.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I did lower my standards a little bit after the first few years. You know, I don't need to shoot 150-inch 8-pointer or 10-pointer for my first archery deer, right? I got to get good at killing deer, get good at, you know, just having better encounters, being in the right spot.
Yeah. It's getting calculated.
Spoiled myself with some good shotgun deer, and, you know, thinking that, oh, it's just a change in weapon, I'm going to continue to shoot big caliber deer. And that's just not the case when you need to be close. So,
hey, it goes back to that old saying that Austin Chandler said a few years ago on the podcast: you can't trip into a 150. It takes a little bit of effort.
Yeah, you cannot with archery equipment.
I've learned some people do trip into them.
It does happen.
Some people do. But
yeah,
but I love it, man. I love that. I love your how you kind of just expressed the recognition of a little bit more difficult way of hunting, and you realize the things you needed to do to get on the caliber deer you want to do, or kind of grow your just experience in the woods with archery equipment. I feel there's a lot of guys that aren't open-minded, or maybe it's like an ego thing or whatever it is, that they can't really step back and see what they should be doing for, I mean, really for the sake of just bowhunting experience and learning how to do it the right way. Because eventually you're going to work your way into just being a consistent killer, you know, of deer you want to kill, whatever caliber that is. And that's up to everybody. That's the beautiful thing about hunting.
Yeah.
Everybody's got whatever their standard is. And if you're consistent at accomplishing what you want to accomplish, then you're successful as a bow hunter. You know, if a guy wants to go for a 200-inch deer, he's going to kill a lot less deer. And if he kills one, he's killing it. You know, he's doing a good job. But I just like good bucks, and I like to shoot them. So whatever I'm feeling that year, that's what I'm shooting for. So, but I just thought that was cool, man.
I appreciate it. And I just like seeing big deer, right? I like figuring the whole game of figuring out where they're going, what they're doing, and why. And, you know, after those first few years of spending a lot of time in the stand and seeing deer occasionally from far away, or not having a lot of good encounters, like it's something I care enough about. Like, I got to figure this thing out. It's just not going to be fun to go out and sit in the same stands and see the same thing time after time. And, you know, maybe you get lucky, maybe you trip into one. I don't know. I can't put 30 sits in a season in with 3 kids and other commitments, right? I got to be smart about what I'm doing.
Yeah, you gotta be a little more proactive and making your own opportunity there, which,
right,
you know, that we've been talking about, you know, being mobile and, you know, just getting after it, really, you know, not being complacent just because it's just too much work to go hang a stand over there, when it's like, man, really, if you did that, you'd really increase your opportunity. It'd be easier to sit, or you'd tag out a little earlier. And I mean, this is what'd you say, the 23rd, 24th?
23rd of October. Yeah.
That's early.
You
know?
Yeah.
It's just getting warmed up right about then, you know? So, I mean, your wife's happy. Let's talk about that, man. Like calling your wife, like, hey, honey, I'm the man, first of all.
Yeah. There was plenty of solid, like, and she knew, you know, the implications with not having my dad around, and being my first archery buck. And obviously she's seen me put a lot of time and effort into being successful. She was super happy, super pumped for me. My kids were super pumped for me. My kids are, I have 3 daughters, and sometimes they like to go hunt, sometimes they don't. My 11-year-old's kind of in this hippie phase of, you know, I don't mind you shooting birds, Dad, but deer, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. Like, well, you sure enjoy eating the meat. She's like, well, yeah, I do.
She'll realize she's just that's a phase.
Yeah. So they come turkey hunting with me. They enjoy that. And we'll see. They're still young. They're 11, 9, and 6.
Yeah.
So we'll see when they're ready to get in the deer woods. But
yeah, I'm sure there'll be no problem.
No.
I get worrying about it though a little bit. Like my daughter's young. She's 2.5. And I'm like, you will be a killer.
Yeah.
And then I have a son. I'm like, he is me.
That's just a little mini me
being stupid. Yeah, he is a little mini me, but yeah, he's I mean, man, you're that into it. They'll realize how much it means to you, and I think they're just going to follow suit, even if they're not a hardcore bow hunter.
they'll understand.
It'd be cool to just go with you for firearm season or whatever it might be. You know?
I think with them growing up with it, they might not become hunters, but they'll appreciate it. They'll respect it.
Yeah.
Even if it's something they don't want to do.
Yeah. You can't force them, but
maybe they'll marry a hunter, right? Maybe
that's what you do. Right. See, I'm already working on like arranged marriages for my daughter so I can get into some good farms, you know? So
there's something to be said for that too.
And you got 3 chances at that.
I do. And the property we have, I'm the sole heir to that land. So we've got, my daughters have something to offer.
Right.
When
okay.
It comes to that.
So you had to be a little
one-sided.
Right. You had to be a little more selective. So there's people right here that don't understand we're being sarcastic, and they're like, I can't believe they're talking about arranged marriages for hunting ground. But listen, we're just, maybe we're on another level of intelligence.
I mean, are we being sarcastic?
Oh, wow. I'm so sarcastic. I can't tell right now if we're kidding or being serious. But it's not a bad idea. I always joke around and say that I'm going to just bring my daughter to Austin Chandler's place because he has all that farm ground, because Cody Chandler is he's going to be a good looking young fellow. And so we're going to talk, you know, arranged marriage and that type of thing, and see what we can figure out.
Yeah. Work it out.
Anything can happen, you know?
It makes a lot of sense. I mean,
it does.
We're dumb. But I mean, so when you get home, your wife has to be pumped, right? But then maybe not so pumped because then you leave for a hunting trip like the next morning.
Yeah, she was pumped, but it was also a rat race. So,
you know, I bet.
Dude, I was happy I found it. So in my head, I'm like, okay, I got to be home to take the kids to this amusement park. And okay, well, now I got to take care of this deer, get it field dressed. I call our normal meat market, and we're in a CWD surveillance zone.
Mm-hmm.
Not it's like we had to get them tested if it was shot on opening weekend of gun season. So it was voluntary testing, but because of that, a lot of the butchers aren't taking whole deer.
Oh, really?
And I mean, me leaving the next day, I don't have time to butcher this deer myself.
Mm-hmm.
I got to take it in. So the next guy I call, yep, we'll take it. Well, it's like a 30-minute drive from the farm. So I got to take it there, and then I got to come back. So I get that done, and the guy's real squirrely about, did you get this deer tested? I'm like, no, I didn't. I shot it like an hour ago.
Yeah.
I'm bringing it to you, and I mean, you can look at the lymph nodes and tell me that it's not tested. It's not been tested. Just take the damn deer, and
let's go.
I want to give you money to do this.
Yeah.
So historically, when I brought deer to the meat market, they just take it. You come get it when it's ready. They give you the head, the antlers, whatever. He's like, I don't want the head. Cuts it off right there, gives it back to me. Like, okay. So now I got to do something with the head. Again, I'm leaving. I don't have freezer space for this thing. So I call a buddy of mine who's a taxidermist locally. I'm like, hey, do you do Euro mounts? He's like, I do. I said, can I drop this thing off with you? He's like, actually, I'm going to be out at my parents', which is like 10 minutes from our farm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you want to meet me out there. Like, okay. So that's another like 20 minutes the other direction.
Yeah.
Long story short, I get the body dropped off. I get the head dropped off, and I'm home at like 10 minutes to 1 o'clock.
Ooh, meeting the deadline.
But I'm driving all over God's green country to get this deer taken care of and scrambling before I head to North Dakota the next day.
Yeah. So you made it to the amusement park is what you're saying.
We're good. Yeah. Kids are happy.
Okay.
Well, you're still here and alive, so you must have made it.
Yeah. I'm still here to tell about it. I haven't been delivered papers yet, so we're solid.
Yeah.
That's good.
Verdict's still out there though. We'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. Shout out to your wife, by the way.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll say letting you go, but being cool with you going, because I had the feeling you were going anyway. Even if she was like, hey, no, you're not. So did you kill any ducks then once you left the next day? I mean, you had to have just been on cloud 9 on that whole trip.
I took the inner tenderloins out when I field dressed the deer. I always have a couple of Ziploc bags in my pack just for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I brought those with, and I was just excited to share those with the guys.
Awesome.
And the duck hunting was decent. It was southeast winds. So for you non-duck hunters, that doesn't promote migration, right? You want north and northwest winds.
Mm.
We had southeast winds the first 3 days, so it was a grind. We shot a bunch of ducks, but it wasn't done by noon. Go hang out and have a good time. We hunted hard, and then the last day we had a big cold front come in, and we shot a lot of nice big ducks that last day. So, and that's really turned into my deer camp, is going up duck hunting with those guys.
The camaraderie and all that.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
I've never done it. You've never done it, right, Doug? Nope. But we get invites to go over here to do like snow goose hunts, and we should try and do that this winter.
I think we are in Illinois.
Yeah, we have a connection.
Chandler and them, yeah.
Oh yeah, Chandler's going to line it up. Yeah.
Say the Buckstorm boys, I'm sure, have some connections for spring snow goose hunts in South Dakota.
Yeah. Yeah. I just don't, I get it. I get why people like to do it, but it's not in my wheelhouse really right now. I'm sure if I did it once. Have you ever done it, Johnny?
No, never done snows.
Any waterfowl?
Yeah. I mean, I've ground checked some ducks on the water, which is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Not a water swat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that kind of like not favorable to hardcore waterfowl guys?
Right. It's kind of semi frowned upon.
It's like a deer drive. It's like,
right.
Okay.
Yeah. Like it's legal. It's okay. But it's like dating the heavy set chick.
Okay. Okay. No,
some grief.
You might not want to talk about that.
Let me write that down. Okay.
Maybe not dating, but I get where you're heading with.
Okay, guys.
You said keep it clean.
Keep it. Okay. All right. Ducks. Doug. Steve. Wife's not. Okay. Noted. All right.
That's the only duck hunting I did this year was on that trip. So
yeah. Well, man, what a good week, huh?
It was a great week.
Kill a great buck. Go hang out with the boys.
Got to go to amusement park. Let's not
skip over the amusement park. That's awesome.
Yeah, there's nothing like riding a roller coaster when it's 40 degrees out. That's a lot of fun.
Right. Did you just go with all your hunting stuff still on?
I did not.
But you tell me, like, when you wait in line to get on the amusement park ride, and there's always like the guy that's like, working the gate to let people go in. You're like, I just killed a buck.
You're all showing them pictures. Yeah, you're all, man, I don't care.
I didn't wash my hands after field dressing, so I just kind of showed off the hands.
Want to hear a quick story? I'll be quick here. I go to the deer one time, and I got home, and we're making sandwiches for lunch, and I didn't wash my hands. And when you get like that fresh white bread, how it's almost like absorbent. I'm eating my sandwich, and I had like blood, like dried up blood on my hands. The bread was absorbing the blood on my hands, and I'm like eating it, and I'm like, it's too late to do anything about this now. It's
right.
But anyway, I just thought it was fun. I'm like, where I was grabbing the sandwich, the bread had soaked up the blood from my hands.
That's great.
Whoops. I'm like, I'm a trash person, but that's okay. Well, man, congratulations, dude. That's a great story.
Yeah, congrats.
You have to. So you're doing a Euro mount on it.
Doing a Euro mount. Yep.
Very cool.
On that deer.
You should do something cool with like a wall pedestal for the skull. With what I mean. You could do something kind of neat.
Yeah, I was thinking something with like I said, I've got the back half of the arrow left with the engraved fletching, and I'll do something cool with it. Yeah,
that'll be awesome, man. And then, by the way, I know we've done some Zoom calls with you on Working Class, but having the bucks in the background, that big black bear is pretty cool. It's a cool backdrop.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, that I never considered even shoulder mounting a deer until I shot the one in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Which was a 168-inch 10-pointer.
Beautiful buck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then I shot the one, that 8-pointer, the year after, and it's 145-inch 8, and the tines actually cross in the front. I've never seen it.
I was like, are they touching? They almost look like
they cross about a half inch. They overlap. And I'm like, how do you rub a tree without snapping those off? Or, how do you get the velvet off without breaking them? Yeah.
What are the inside of his, like where his brows are at on the bases? Are they real rough? Like he couldn't get in there? Or?
I don't know. I have to look.
That's funny. Pretty cool,
Yeah,
man.
it was
Think
very
about that.
unique.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. How do they get in there?
I don't think I have any deer like that.
I don't either.
To be honest. But that's cool, man. Well, congratulations, man. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to do this podcast.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are going to relate with like the emotion of this hunt and what it meant to you. I know Johnny kind of just went through a similar experience, and so have I. And I guess that's just, you know what that means? We're getting older. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things that happens, man. But it's cool that, I mean, we're all passionate guys. We all care about hunting, and it's that first animal after you go through a life change like that, especially with your hunting buddy, is extra special. Like my mule deer, I cried like a baby when I saw that thing hit the ground. And I had my dad's all my dad's stuff on my fletching written on there. And then when I saw that buck go down, he just disintegrated the arrow because he fell and rolled down a mountain.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Because Clint and Devin were like, don't you want to find the fletching? And I was like, you know what? That arrow did its job, and it's up on that mountain somewhere. And
It's almost cooler that it gets to stay there.
It's almost like leaving his ashes up there type of idea.
Yep. And I did do that actually in that spot, but it was like I had a lighted knock on my arrow, and I think it just blew it out, when he rolled over the arrow. And so it's out there. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I agree with Johnny. I think that's almost cooler.
Yeah.
It would just be part of the mountain. And
maybe a hunter will find it one year, but it's not likely you'll find it where he rolled.
Yeah.
So you'd have to be on that hillside, which was not fun. So, but anyway, man, thank you so much.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Enjoy being part of the team. I will for sure see you guys in Iowa
Classic
in March.
There we go.
Awesome. Yep. Awesome. And then if you want to put out your Instagram or the Facebook group or anything like that for people to go check it out,
Sure. Instagram is mnhunter_Stauff. I manage a 30,000 member Facebook group called the Minnesota Hunting Club, where I share a lot of the working class stuff.
Much appreciated.
It's a good group, but it can be kind of a crap show. It's at times when you get 30,000 people with all
Facebook groups, man. All
different walks of hunting.
Yeah.
It's like buy sale marketplace.
It's the same thing. Yeah. Because our group's the same way. Our group might be worse because you get a little wilder crowd in there.
So, I'm always fascinated by the stuff people will post. That's illegal. You probably shouldn't post that when you're asking questions.
That's just when you grab the popcorn and wait for the comments to come in.
Yeah.
Yeah. My cousin that I go on this duck hunt with every year works for the DNR. And we always talk. He's like, there's like every conservation officer is a member of that group.
Yeah.
And
that's easy pickings.
It's fascinating.
Hey, you know what? Let them do it. Let them post it.
Shout out 100%. To power, candle power, lights. Works great from the side of the road.
Here's the Amazon link.
Yeah.
It's like, dang it.
Did anybody ever use one of those lights before?
It's like, don't post. What are you doing? Don't. One, you shouldn't post it, but one, you shouldn't be doing it anyway. And why are you taking pictures of it? Yeah. It blows my mind. Well, awesome, man. We'll look forward to see you at the Iowa Classic. Thanks for doing this, man. And
sounds good. I appreciate it. I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. And
congrats again, buddy.
Yeah. Congrats.
Yeah,
and thanks to everyone that listened or watched this or supports us, Working Class Bowhunter or Working Class on DeerCast. We appreciate the support. We get to do what we do with all this and the series and everything we do, go to shows and all that because of you guys. So much appreciated. And I'm going to close her out. You know what to do. Go shoot a giant. We love you guys. Hey guys, another Giant Tracker segment here, Working Class on DeerCast. We have Greg in the house. What's up, buddy?
Doing pretty good.
I bet you're doing real good, especially after killing a deer like that, huh?
Oh, that's a fact. I'm still riding the wave, so it's been fun.
I bet. Is that the deer behind you?
This is actually, I shot this one in Illinois, so this is my biggest buck. That one scored 232.
No kidding.
Yes, yeah. So the one I shot in Michigan just a couple weeks ago was we rough scored about 212.
Wow.
Yes,
So
sir.
you're just a big buck killer, man, wherever you go, it seems like.
That's what I've been told.
If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm 20. I'll be actually in a week I'll be 21.
That is even more impressive, man. Congratulations. That's funny. I'm like, oh man, he must have just had, I don't know how you have the mount back already. Just,
yeah,
it's rare when you see someone with 2 super giants, you know?
Yes, sir. Yep. I know. I'm very lucky. My dad, he's been taking me hunting ever since I was little. We got a lot of good properties to go to, but it definitely doesn't come without putting a little work. I'll tell you that.
Of course. I always say big bucks take effort, and
oh yeah,
clearly you know that. And do you have a lot of other big bucks? I mean, what's besides those 2 deer? What's your? It's weird that I have to say what's your third closest deer to 200 or whatever. You know,
180.
Okay, impressive. Not a lot of people will kill. I've never killed a 180, so that's awesome, man.
Yeah, my dad's biggest buck is I think 184, and then I've got him beat with probably 2 or 3 of them. So
that's pretty funny. Good. I mean, I'm sure he's not mad about it.
Oh no, it's all fun and games. And actually, the buck I shot here in Michigan, I probably only went hunting by myself with a weapon probably 5 times. The rest of the times I was hunting with my brother. I really wanted him to shoot it because I've already got this one here.
Yeah, right.
I was sitting with him with a camera filming, and it all worked out where he went one spot one day and he woke me up in the morning. And I'm like, I'm gonna go somewhere else. And it just kind of landed in my lap.
Well, let's hear the story, man. And then I got some questions about your area and stuff like that being from Michigan, but I'm impressed, dude. I'm already having a good time with this.
So thank you.
Wherever you got to start the story, man, it's all your story. So tell it how you want. I don't care if you lie about it. That's cool too.
Yeah. So it all started when we tied him up to the tree.
Got him in the corner of the fence where the corner's round. So, you know.
Yeah. So we've been watching this deer for 4 years now. And our first picture we have him, I think he's only like a 9 point, but you could tell he's got a little junk off his bases, and we were really wanting to let him go. And the next year he absolutely blew up. He was probably 150 inches as what we thought was a 3-year-old. And we were really wanting to pass him, but at that time, that's the biggest Michigan buck we've ever had on camera. So we're like, I really wanted to pass him, but if he walked in front of me, he was probably going to get it.
It's tough.
And oh yeah. Yep. And me and my girlfriend were hunting, and we actually seen him, and I was going to let her shoot it, but he stayed a little too far out with the bow. And the next year he blew up again, and he was probably 180 is what we figured. And he was kind of a ghost all year long. He was on our cameras, but he was nocturnal. And come gun season, my grandpa actually seen him, but he broke his whole left side completely off just above the brow tine.
No kidding.
I thought it was weird. I mean, he was so thick right there. But
you wonder how I wonder if he got hit by a car or someone like
that's what I was
back off.
I was wondering the same thing. But after I shot the deer, we took it to the butcher, and he said there's no bruise marks. He's like, this deer did not get hit by a car, but he did actually find a slug in the deer's throat.
What?
Yeah.
But you wonder if maybe he got shot at while he was running and somebody hit the rack.
That's exactly what I'm thinking, which is insane. But
wow.
Yeah. So my grandpa ended up giving him a pass, but it made me feel a little better. Maybe somebody had let him go if they seen him. But
yeah,
these Michigan guys, a lot of them, they'll see that one rack, and I don't blame them. If they see the one side, they'll probably pull the trigger. But
yeah, quit looking, think the both sides are there or whatever.
Yeah. Yep. So, I was still a little nervous about it, but come shed season, I found its good side, and we scored it, I think, at about 84 inches it was.
Wow.
And yeah. And we're like, whoa, he's a lot bigger than I actually thought he was. And then come the summertime, I knew where he was staying in the summer, and I've got countless footage of him with spot and scope eating in the beans. And we got another buck with him that we now call Scarface. He's just a big typical 10-pointer. And I think he's only 4.5. And Firecracker is what we call this buck, was 5.5.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You're dialed, man. I like hearing this. Like, it's not just, it's cool. I mean, you don't get lucky twice on deer like that, but it's cool. You guys are actively passing these deer and waiting for full maturity. That's really impressive, man, especially at 20 years old.
Yeah. Well, so we got bunch of pictures of this buck and lots of footage of him, which was just super cool. It's like call my grandpa up. He's the one who kind of owns this little bit of piece of property. And he's always wanted to grow a big buck on there. So he's stoked. And I'm like, hey, you want to go look at Firecracker? He's like, yeah. It's like, I know where he's at.
Yeah.
We'll go film him. And it was really fun just being with him and sharing that experience with him. But come deer season, you know, I'm opening morning, I'm sitting with my brother filming him. And we let go some really nice bucks. We're hunting for this big one. And kind of hunted the whole season, every morning, every night, played the winds. We have a lot of different spots. So some spots we weren't really hunting for him, but it was a good win. So we went out anyway. But it was November 4th. My dad was hunting my grandpa's farm, and he's seen this buck. He was with a bow, seen him probably 200 yards away, 180 yards.
Yeah.
And he's got super good footage of him just kind of dogging a doe. And so that night we knew he was going to stay on my grandpa's property, probably lay down with that doe. Me and my brother went out, I'm filming him, and we never seen him. My dad did end up catching a glimpse of him that night too. But
how big did you think this deer was?
I figured I was pretty close. I figured he was 210 to 215, and my dad thought he was 200 to 205.
I mean,
so
good guess. It's hard to guess on deer, like when they get past like that 180 mark. It's like you don't really know what they have until you get them.
When I shot this one in Illinois, it was that way. We were holding them, and we're like, at this point, he's just big. It's like I know he's probably 200, but I have no idea after that.
Right.
But
it's tough to guess when they have so much going on. You're just like, I'd hate to put a number on it because you don't know until you put a tape to them.
Absolutely.
Okay, I was just curious because I know if I had a deer of that caliber, which I've never had a deer of that caliber on any of my property. I had some good ones, you know, but nothing like world class like this. I'm like, I don't even know how I would guess about it. You know what I mean? It'd just be tough.
Oh yeah. It's so tough. I mean, he's got all these stickers. And if you think a sticker is 2 inches and it's really an inch, I mean, you could be off 10 inches there.
Or vice versa, you know. My buddy just killed a really big buck, and we were guessing this buck to be low 170s. We shoot it, put a tape to it, he's 190.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of funny.
They surprise you.
Yeah, and we'll take that every time, you know. So
absolutely.
That's what makes antlers so fun.
Absolutely. Yep. So that was November 4th is when my dad caught a glimpse of him. And I ended up shooting him on it was a month later, December. Or no, it wasn't. It was November 23rd is when I shot him. November 23rd. I shot this one December 5th. Yep. So November 23rd is when I shot him. And we were about to go to our cabin for Thanksgiving. We always go to the cabin, which is way up north, across the bridge. My dad kind of gave my brother the option. He's like, hey, do you want to stay here and hunt for this buck one more morning? Or do you want to get up early? We'll go to the cabin. We'll get there in time to hunt that night. Like, well, let's stay here and hunt the morning. I'm like, all right, I'll go sit with you in this spot where we think he's going to pop up. Well, I sleep through my alarm. My brother knocks on my door. He's like, hey, are you coming to film me? And I'm like, oh, you go ahead. I'm going to go somewhere else. You go ahead. I'll pop in this other spot. He's like, all right. I get in there. I'm seeing deer almost immediately. Got a doe in front of me, glassing this little buck across the field into this corn that we ran over. And I'm glassing this. We got a bunch of grasses, native grasses we planted for the deer. And I'm kind of glassing in there. You'll get buck stand up. And I see this bush and it looks just like them. And I know there's a bush in there that gets me every time.
Yeah.
Like, that freaking bush again. And then it moves its head. And I was like, holy crap.
The bush was moving its head.
Oh yeah. I'm like, ugh, I don't know if that's the bush. So I got my camera up and I'm rolling. I zoomed in kind of where he was. It was still pretty dark. And he's dogging a doe. And as this doe kind of runs across my shooting lane and he stops just staring at her. Probably for 10 minutes, he's standing there. And I go to range find where that doe was. And my rangefinder is completely dead. I have no idea how far he is. I call my dad up like, hey, when you seen him that one time, how far was he? Yeah. He's like, 200, 180. Oh. And he's like, I don't really know. I was like, let's go with 180. He's like, he said after I shot him, he's like, I really wasn't expecting to answer a call like that at 7:30 in the morning. I was
put on the spot, man. It's like, who wants to be a millionaire? I'm phoning in for a lifeline here.
Yeah. Yep. So I had one of those Leupold custom dial scopes on the muzzleloader. So I dialed it to 180.
Yeah.
And he stepped out in the opening and he's in that grass stuff. So I could kind of see the top of his shoulder. Had to guess where his shoulder was, which, just aimed a little bit lower and let him have it. But there's so much smoke. Can't see nothing in the footage. I had no idea if I hit him, if I missed him, if he dropped. So we went back to my grandpa's and I'm kind of replaying the footage for my dad. And immediately he's like, he was a lot farther when I seen him.
Oh, really?
Like, oh my gosh. So now
you're worried.
Oh yeah, now it's panic mode. And my grandma's like, anybody want breakfast sandwiches? No, thank you.
I'm good. I can't eat.
No, I could not eat. I was not feeling too hot.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of people together. There are so many people, wanting us to kill this deer. And we probably had 5 or 6 guys with us going to track, and we had shotguns just in case if he popped up and found blood. And immediately it was like, he's done. We smoked him, and
good.
You only went probably 50 yards and picked him up, and my grandpa's there and my dad's there, my uncle, my brother. It was kind of emotional. It was pretty cool.
That's cool, man. I love hearing that. Like, you got your dad and your grandpa with. That's what it's about right there. And I bet you they were so pumped.
Oh yeah. My grandpa, when I came in the house to go get some breakfast after I shot, I was probably only 100 yards from his house when I shot it. So he heard the shot and, he's just smiling ear to ear. Like, you get him? I'm like, I hope so.
That's cool, man. That's what it's about. So, I mean, when you pick this thing up, are you like shocked with how big he is, or what's going through your head?
Well, he absolutely was big, but ever since I shot this one here, everything, I'm warped, man. I pick up a 170. I killed a 170 in Illinois.
Yeah.
I pick it up and it looks small to me.
Yeah. Well, I get that a little bit now, but you're spoiled.
I know it. I need to stop shooting these big ones and need to be like, okay, I'm shooting 130s from here on out for a year.
Get yourself back down to reality a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
That's hilarious.
I picked him up and he was just giant. He was insane. And then to kind of go in my head and be like, okay, we're in Michigan. This is Michigan.
So that's what I was going to ask, man, because on our normal Working Class Bowhunter series, like, we're kind of known for giving Michigan some crap jokingly. Just it's kind of like a fun thing we do. It's a way we interact with our Michigan listeners. Yeah. And we have a group on Facebook called Working Class Bowhunters, and there's a lot of guys, like, when a big buck gets killed in Michigan, it's kind of like the thing to be like, look, there are big deer in Michigan. Yeah. And then everybody kind of goes back and forth in the comments. That's mostly all in good fun. But I mean, is this a normal thing for the area that you're in Michigan, or is it a rare thing,
Yeah, it is definitely not normal. Yeah. Our biggest buck we've had on our property before this was probably 160, and that was a couple of years ago. So what we got, my grandpa probably owns 200 acres of fruit. He set aside about 10, 15 for us to do whatever we wanted with. So we got food plots and bedding and some little bit of timber on that piece that we're trying to turn into kind of like a deer paradise.
Yeah.
But across the road
your grandpa has fruit. You don't have to tell me more than you need to tell, but I'm just curious what that means.
Yep. So he's got apples. He farms apples and peaches and grapes.
Very cool.
Yep. Oh yeah, it's awesome. We kind of get spoiled with that too.
That's awesome, man. Cool. Well, I like it, man. You guys seem very calculated. You guys seem very invested as a family together and want to shoot a certain caliber of deer. And I think that's just so awesome, dude, that you guys are all that involved with it.
Oh yeah. It's a blast just chasing these big deer. We're always hunting. Usually we're in Iowa or Illinois. So we come home and we kind of want to make that piece of property like in Iowa or in Illinois. And it transfers over.
I love it, man. So you shoot this deer. I mean, I'm sure everyone's freaking out about it, right?
Oh yeah. We had people calling us before you took a first picture. Did you get them? We're like, how in the heck do you know we even shot? Word was traveling like crazy.
It's funny. I joke around with some of my buddies, talk about that. Like, we've seen some deer. My buddy knows about a big deer, that might be in the 200s. And I'm like, that's the type of deer where it's on the internet before you even take a picture of it.
It absolutely was. It was like, what in the world?
I mean, hey, cool. I mean, it's that big of a deer. It's pretty impressive. I'm impressed, man. I think it's cool. It's not often where you call a guy, a young man, even 20 years old. Like I was still trying to get a 150 at 20 years old. So it's cool to call you about this buck, and then you have an even bigger buck on the wall behind you. I'm like, what's going on? That's awesome.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
I think it's great. And you're humble about it too. I think it's cool, man. It's I'm happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. When I first seen him, and I know I was wanting my brother to get him so bad. He wasn't too far away, and I see this buck, and no joke, people might call me a liar, but first thing I thought to myself was, geez, I got to be this guy again to kill this buck.
It's hard to be the big buck killer.
I know it. I know it.
Back in the day when I was growing up hunting in our hunting camp, I grew up hunting in Fulton County, Illinois. And we'd always do a thing if somebody'd kill a buck, and if you'd get back to camp before everybody else, we'd joke around and sit there and like clean our fingernails next to the big buck. So when everybody pulled in, they're like, "Oh, how are you?" You know what I mean? Like you're the man type of thing. So I imagine there was a little bit of that. Yeah, it's probably a little bit of that between your brother and your dad and your grandpa. A little bit.
Oh yeah, there absolutely is. It makes it fun. It's a little competition.
That's awesome, dude. Well, cool. Yeah, I'm sure they're all happy for you, and I can't imagine as like seeing your son killed 2 deer over 200 inches, like, because that's just as good as you getting it.
Oh, it absolutely is. And I've gotten to the point now where I'm not going to shoot just anything. I'm after the older class deer. Mm-hmm. We got one behind our house right now. He's probably only going to go 135, but he's a 6.5-year-old 8-point, and I would be stoked to kill him.
Yeah, that's a perfect deer, really.
Yes. Yep, it is. And I get just as much enjoyment as watching somebody else kill one too. Like sitting behind the camera and being there, it's awesome.
Well, I think you're way ahead of your age and experience and like hunting maturity. So it's very cool to see, man.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, anything you want to plug, man? If you want to plug your Instagram or any thank yous or anything before we get out of here?
Yeah. So my Instagram is gshemmy, SHEMMY. You could see I got pictures of deer I've shot before in there. It's kind of cool to look over there. I see how little I was. And I film. So I film all my hunts now. And the name of that show is MDG Outdoors.
Cool.
And we put all that stuff on Carbon TV Media.
Oh, very cool. Awesome. I'll check it out.
So I'm working on the video right now for Firecracker. So that should be up probably within a couple of weeks. That'd be cool.
Very cool, man. That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Awesome. I'll check it out, man.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing this. And I'm sure everyone's going to check that out. I hope they do. Support the young man. It's weird that I'm saying that, but I'm 31 and I'm like, dang, I'm struggling. But I think it's great, man. So thanks everyone for listening and watching this Giant Tracker segment. Hope you guys are enjoying these. We're having a lot of fun. I get to meet cool people like this. So I'm having a good time with it. And you know what to do. Go shoot a giant. We'll catch you on the next one.